Hi, this is Sydney, and I'm so happy to have Andre with us. And he is a consultant, and he's going to be talking to us about his work in the private equity space and the fundraising space with different startups. So we're here today to talk about the differences in our perspectives with crowdfunding versus traditional financing. And I know that he and I actually have very, very different backgrounds, and yet we tend to help the same market of people. So thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
So I understand that you have a lot of different experiences, especially in terms of government grants, loans, and VCs. So more like traditional fundraising, and you're kind of seeping into more of the crowdfunding and VC kind of marketplace, right? Which is how we got connected. So that's great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your experiences are in terms of how you have found government and how you have found traditional fundraising, and just kind of what brought you to be interested in this kind of new form of fundraising these days.
Well, as you know, government is very traditional and very bureaucratic,
Yeah.
and the VC world, believe it or not, well, you probably believe it, tends to be the same way. You know, from a consultant's perspective, it's not always the questions that we mind answering as it is the length of time and the rigidity of the system. It's a very old system. It's a system that hasn't adapted. And that's why equity crowdfunding is interesting to me, because it seems more adaptive to today, because everything today moves so much faster.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and the younger generation also, they don't want to go through a 9, 12, 15-month process. They'd rather go through a 2-week process and get a no and do that for 15 months than wait 15 months for one no, right? So, so crowdfunding tends to lend itself to that better. You get faster answers, good or bad. You
That
just get
would make
faster
sense.
answers,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the process is not nearly as heavy, if you
yeah.
will.
I think that it's so interesting that you brought up the speed of which you would get your yes or your no, right? It's better to have a quick no than a dragged out no or yes, right? Because you are really losing all of that time and that momentum in the process. So that is really interesting that you brought that up, because it kind of reminds me of when I was first learning about crowdfunding. And our platform doesn't necessarily do crowdfunding, as it takes startups tractions and then best matches them with active funds. So it's not really like, high net worth individuals only kind of a thing. But in terms of when I was first learning about crowdfunding, being really interested in that space, it was like you said, you can learn fast and alter and keep going, and having these kinds of quick feedback is very startup like, because it's kind of like you're getting the reaction from the market, which is so interesting. And you do get more out of it in that process too, if you get yes or no's from certain kinds of organizations. Are you really learning what the market is expecting or not? Are you really getting that same quality of feedback, or are you just kind of getting them from certain bureaucracies? So that is interesting. I think that everybody does want to know one thing: how the hell do you have that patience to do all of this? It's so long, and the business plans are so long. I used to write them; they're so long.
They are. It, it, for me, I fell into it early during consulting. Somebody asked me if I'd walk them through an application, and 9 months later or 10 months later, we had been through one, and then he told a friend, and they told a friend, and so on and so on, and two became four. So I was fortunate that my business grew through word of mouth and continues to grow through word of mouth. So I didn't have to do a lot there. But I also work in an area where not a lot of people are interested in spending that amount of time doing that amount of work. But it is networking nonetheless. It's just not as expedient as you would do with online networking today with platforms like LinkedIn and all sorts of other platforms. You can accelerate your networking so much more than you can in the traditional sense.
Okay. And then in terms of working with early stage, because we both work in seed, pre-seed, and that kind of a stage, are you being offered strands of equity or things like that to partner with you and do work for you? And how do you feel about equity versus just regular cash and regular contracts and such? Do you have an opinion on those?
Honestly, each situation is unique. I would say most of my 20 years have been spent on the cash side. Equity or sweat equity has been offered on occasion.
Okay.
It has panned out in some occasions, and it hasn't panned out in other occasions. There's a risk with taking an equity position versus cash. You know you have it. So
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
a mix. But there are actual companies that have offered cash that I wish they would have offered an equity position, and there's companies that it's the other way around. So it really depends. It's unique to the situation.
Oh, great. Actually, like we are incorporated in a way that we can't take equity, and yet we are consistently offered. And it's funny because like those who offer equity don't tend to turn around and then reoffer you cash instead. It's kind of like you're down this road and then there's no other road. There wasn't a turning point. It was really like a fixated thing. And it's so funny that you say that those that offered cash, you wish you have taken equity instead. Do you have a? You don't have to give us a name, but do you have a particular example or story where you had that moment where you're kind of like, why didn't I fight harder for this other option? Had it been an option?
Well, honestly, again, it's really situational, but there's one in particular where it was never a discussion. It was just they came in and they said, "What's your fee? What's your retainer?" And I said, "It's this." And we started working. And about 3 months into the project, I was like, "Oh, I wish I could back up in time and ask for an equity position in this company instead of just doing the paperwork for them." So, it was that kind of situation without naming the specific client
Yeah.
where they approached me, they retained my services, and it was never a discussion. But I regret now I have that discussion anytime offers me a retainer first. I always tend to have the equity conversation as well if the business plan is interesting.
Great, fantastic. Okay, awesome. And yeah, and so now we're gonna play a little game because we want to get to know you a little bit more. So remember I asked you to take out two pieces of paper, and then what did you end up taking? Show us. Really funny. This is not
A
expected.
white piece of paper and a paint sample.
And a paint sample. All right. So what we're gonna do is, have you ever played the game Two Truths and a Lie?
Yes,
Okay, so obviously we only have two pieces of paper, so we're going to write one truth and one lie, and we're going to see if we can guess each other's truth and lie.
sure.
Okay, so you can use any which one, and we're going to show it to the camera. So when you are done, let me know.
Okay. It doesn't write very well on the paint sample, so I took a second white piece of paper.
You can put it on top of the paint sample, like it's glued. Okay, I'm done. Are you done?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'll go first. So then, which color do you want to choose?
Yellow.
Yellow. Okay, so this is my yellow, and again, you get to choose. You have to guess whether it's going to be a truth or a lie. So I had the chicken pox 3 times.
3 times. Wow. Most people have it once,
Those are facts, yes.
but that sounds like something you wouldn't make up. So I'd say it's truth.
You think this is true?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you would think that this one is a lie. So let's see what this one says. Held back in grade 1.
Oh, okay.
Do you think this one
Hmm.
is a lie? Or do you think this one is the truth?
Yeah, you seem pretty smart. I'll stick with my original answer.
Okay, you are correct. I was not held back in grade 1, and I did have the chicken pox 3 times. So I have to be extra careful walking around these days.
Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
know what I'm going to get. Okay, great. So now it's your turn.
All right, so we'll do left hand and right hand instead of, or
Okay,
this one has the paint sample.
let's
Hold
do the paint sample first.
on. Okay.
Let's see. I've been to 27 countries. Oh, okay. I've been to about the same amount of countries, so I feel like that is very plausible. I think that's true. It's so specific. Okay, what is the other one? And let's see if I switch it. I met Jack Black. Really? Oh, that's great. I loved him in Jumanji. Um, hmm. Okay, here's my follow-up question. Did you meet Jack Black in person or was it like a virtual thing?
No, in person.
Okay. I should have allowed you to ask questions too, but you were so fast. Okay, so I think you have not met Jack Black, and I think you have been to 27 countries. So hold up, which one is true? Ah! You have bested me. Okay, so thank you so much for playing and for coming on to our interview. So Andre, please tell us how we can get a hold of you, and please tell us what project that you're so excited to work on right now.
So you can get a hold of me on LinkedIn would be my preference. You can look up my profile. My ugly mug shows up. I'm the owner of Dociologic, if that helps you make the connection. Right now, I'm working on a lot of interesting projects with First Nations throughout Atlantic Canada. And there's a real interest because of Mother Earth and all of that to get back to farming. And with the increase in technology and vertical farming, it's a really interesting project. It's a really interesting sector for the Maritimes, especially with our wait 5 minutes and the weather will change. It gives a controlled environment. So any kind of vertical farming, vertical growing, any projects of that nature in Atlantic Canada that would be interested in partnering with First Nations, there's a lot of traction right now, and it's a direction and a venue that we're definitely pursuing.
Wonderful. And is there a website? You can actually write it down and then hold it back to the camera. If there's a website to contact or a contact email, you can write it down.
Yeah, okay. We'll write that down. Give me a minute, but it's just my contact email. But
Okay. I should have told him to bring 3 pieces of paper or extra paint sample. So how long have you been working on this project?
uh, this is going almost 2 years now.
Oh, amazing. And this is such a great, worthy cause, too.
So
Wonderful. There it is. That's how you can
on the
get a hold of
screen?
them to learn more about this project. So thank you guys for watching and have yourself a great rest of the day. Bye.